Hi, my name is Leandro Facchinetti and let's write some code together, shall we? What we have on the menu today is part 11, which will probably be the last part of this series of streams in which I'm working on a project of mine called Caxa. Caxa is this Node.js project that allows you to package an application into a single binary that you can distribute and ship to your servers and deploy, and people don't have to install Node.js. They can just run your binary and they will run your application. So this past 3 weeks, I worked on adding ARM support for Caxa, fixing a couple of bugs, and adding more custom parameters for you to select exactly how you want Caxa to package your application. And today the plan is to wrap this up and release 2.0. I think that most of the things that needed to be done are done, and I think we'll be able to ship today. We'll see. To begin with, the thing that we did yesterday and pushed failed on the continuous integration server, and it failed to run the tests on Linux ARM. As I said, one of the reasons why we are releasing Caxa 2.0 is so that we can add ARM support. And the tests on Linux ARM didn't pass, and they failed with this connection reset, and Npm said that the network was aborted. So this is a problem related to network connectivity. It seems like this is the kind of problem that would go away if we just run the thing again. We'll see. So we'll have to figure this out. And I could just rerun the job and we'll see if that fixes the issue. And of course, we'll also do some other changes and push, so the test will run because of that as well. And then here on the code, what we did yesterday was to add parameters to allow you to customize exactly how you want to build with Caxa. So all the things that Caxa does, now you can customize in some way. And that is done by the means of all these optional parameters to the caxa function. And the plan for today is to wrap these options into command line arguments. So you can call caxa in two ways. You can import a JavaScript function and run it, or you can call it from the command line. And the command line tool, of course, is just a thin wrapper around the function. So the function is already capable of all the customization that we would like. Now let's add command line parameters for when you're calling caxa from the command line and you want to customize these things. Maybe not all of the things will be customizable, and some of the customizations may be different on the command line because some things don't make that much sense on the command line. So we'll see what we can come up with. So I guess the best way for me to do this is to copy all the arguments. Maybe I'll copy their types. So I guess I'll copy from here. I'll copy everything here to the options part of the command line application. And then we'll see. Input and output are already not only options, they are required. And the same for the command. The command is down here. It's an argument that is required. Now, overwrite is whether you want to overwrite the output. So I guess this will be optional, so it will be not a required option, but just an option. And then the argument will be -f or force, and overwrite output if it exists. And I can do all the options here and then forward them below, or I can do this step by step. I guess I'll do it step by step. So options option force will turn into here, it will be force, and this will have, I believe I can pass a default option to commander. Let's see. So commander takes the flags, a description, a default value, which can be a string or a boolean or undefined. So I guess by default it will be true. We determined this yesterday, so the default here for overwrite is true. So maybe we should change this overwrite to be force, because on the command line usually people say force -f. So I guess I'll change this name. Now it will be force. Oh, and in the documentation here, it seems like I need to change something. So output, the path at which, on which, the path where the executable will be produced, whatever. It doesn't necessarily overwrite existing files and folders anymore. So there is that, and then overwrite output if it exists. Okay, I like that description. Okay. And then filter. So filter is interesting. It is something that allows us to not copy some of the files. So I guess I need some backstory here. Caxa will take your JavaScript project, your Node.js project, and it will copy it into a build directory, which is just a temporary directory, and then it will do a bunch of things that it needs to do in order to actually prepare the application for packaging. So filter is something that it's a function that allows you to control which files are copied. So maybe you don't want to copy like your .git folder, and you can do that using the filter. But that is a function, and I cannot receive a function on the command line. So I could just ignore this parameter, and if you're on the command line, you're not able to filter. But I think it would be nice to have some paths that you can pass, and those paths will be ignored. So we'll look into that. But let's finish force first. So input, output, and force is a boolean. And then because I passed true here, by default it will be true. And then here I can pass force as another argument. Let's see if I'm matching the order of things. So input, output, command, input, output, command, force, force, all seems good. And there are some errors that the application may throw. What do we do with the errors? We show the errors and then we exit with an error status. So that seems good. So with that, I am interested in knowing how I toggle force, because by default it's true. I wonder how the documentation reads. So let's take a look. TS node source. Oh, I guess I need to pass help to see the documentation. I wonder if the documentation mentions that force is the default true. Okay, and if I want to disable that, how do I do it? Probably -- no -force, something like that. We'll see. So I guess what I'm gonna do real quick is just console log force to understand how Commander parses this. So we'll have some input. I guess I can copy the example from here. So the input, the output, and the commands. But we will also have a force parameter. Let's start without it. It should print true, and it does. Now let's try to pass force. It should still print true. And then what if I say no force? Then it should print false or unknown option. Okay, so I need to look for a commander and see what the docs give me. What? What do I need to do here? If you define full first, defining no full doesn't change the default value from what it would otherwise be. You can specify a default Boolean value for a Boolean option, and it can be overridden on the command line. Yeah, but how? You can specify an option which may be used, blah, blah, blah. I'm confused. Maybe what I need to do is set an option that reads no force. And it doesn't receive a default argument. And then the no force here should be recognized. Okay. So let's do all the three tests again. First, without any force. Then with an explicit force. And then with an explicit no force. Okay, so yeah, weird way of writing, but it seems like that's what we want. And let's read the help real quick. And what if I don't provide a description because it's kind of redundant? Okay, overwrite output if exists, default true, and then you can say no force like that. Okay, I am happy with that. It's kind of weird, but I'm okay with that. So it seems like the problem really was temporary because I just reran the jobs and they passed. So the problem wasn't with our code. Yay. Let's commit what we have before we move on. Let's read over what we have. Okay. Okay. Looks good to me. So committing that, and then we will look into filter. So I really want to run an experiment here because I'm not sure exactly how filter will work. We can go to the docs for FS Extra and look for copy, and then we'll find whatever the documentation says about filter. A function to filter copied files or directories, return true to copy them and false to ignore it. Can also return a promise. But do you have an example of this? Using the filter function. Your logic here, it will be copied if it returns true, but the problem here is, what is this filter function called with? The directories, just the files, we really need to investigate this by writing a test for this. So let's create a tmp fs extra and then open Visual Studio Code in there. And of course I will want to install fs extra, and then I will write some index.js file or whatever, and then here we const fs require fs extra, and let's create some example directories. So we'll have a, b, c, and then in there let's create a, b, c, d. So we'll have a bunch of directories and a file, and then maybe e as well. And how about an f file? So in the end our directory structure looks like this. So a, ab, abf, so those are directories. This is a file, this is a directory, these are files. And now let's call, well, we'll call this asynchronously, so I will create an async block real quick, and then we can call await fs copy of a into I don't know, hello, and then for the filter function we'll pass a function that receives 2 arguments, source and destination. I mean, that's what we have here in this example. We'll console log source and destination, and we will always return true. We want to copy everything. We just want to inspect what the filter will be called with. So here we can say node index, and okay, so it calls the filter with the folders, and then the files as well. So every path in the way will be called. So filter will be called for all the paths in the way. Let's remove the hello directory. And now let's say that if the thing starts with AB, we don't copy. No, if the thing starts with ABC, we don't copy, and then I expect only to see F in the destination. So let's see. So source starts with ABC. If that's not the case, then I copy. So effectively what I'm saying is ignore ABC. Okay, so it was called with A, it was called with AB, it was called with ABF, but when it was called with ABC, we said that we didn't want to copy that entire folder. And then in the output, we don't have that folder, but importantly, the function was not called with ABCD or ABCE because it knows that I don't want to copy ABC, the directory, so of course I will not want to copy anything in the directory as well. Okay, so that looks good to me. How about on the command line? We cannot pass a function like this. But how about on the command line? I receive some globs. Yeah, I can use the glob package. I wonder if the glob needs to be just a string or if it can be multiple strings. So at this point, I think I have two options. I can do an allow list or a deny list. If I do an allow list, then you would have to specify everything that you would like to allow. That's probably bad because the chance of error is just too high. So instead, I will have a deny list, which will be just dash ignore. How about that? So I will say that I want to ignore a bunch of paths, like a .git directory, for instance, you may want to ignore. And I wonder if the glob library would be useful here, because the glob library would give me more options on the kind of matches, but it could also be more complicated. I could just accept something and use starts with. And I wonder if the glob library allows me to pass multiple patterns. It doesn't seem to. It seems to only look at one pattern at a time. So maybe I could have a list of patterns and then I would have to do the work of looping over them. Okay, let's see what Felipe says in the chat. Hi, Felipe. It's good to have you here. So Felipe says, hi, Leo. I saw on your last video that you tried contacting me. I wouldn't have been able to join due to meetings. This week is very busy, but maybe sometime in the future. Oh, yeah, sure. So anytime that you are available and you want to work on some open source, then reach out to me. I would love to have you over. So yeah, globs. Globs are another chance of things going wrong, but I kind of like the glob. So let's try this out. So then here we could say const glob. And then we could say something like, how does that work? So let's see, glob. What if I want to make the thing asynchronous, but I don't want to use a callback function? I'm sure that it's able to return a promise, right? Async. Okay, so it performs an asynchronous glob search. But come on, there should be an async version of this. Okay. Glob. And a callback is mandatory. Philip is asking if I am implementing an include list or an exclude list. So I was thinking about this. I think that an excludes list, so a deny list, makes more sense here. Because if I have an allow list or an include, I would have to, people would have to know exactly everything that they want to include in the package, which I think is more error prone. So instead, I'm going for an exclude list. And I was thinking about using glob, but if I cannot do this with a promise, then I am out. So let's see if there's something here we can do. Glob promise. Okay. This is just a promise wrapped version of glob. Whatever, fine by me. Let's look at Npm Trends if there is something that I should be using instead. So people who search for glob also search for fast glob and globby and node glob and globule. So I should probably look at glob and globby. Glob is definitely more popular, but what do we have to say about globby? It's based on fast glob, but that's a bunch of features. Promise API, okay, and it's by this person. So anything by this person, I'm happy to use. I use many of many packages by this person. So, okay. And it seems like I can have multiple patterns and negated patterns. Okay, I am sold. So we are going to go with globby. Oh, and it supports a .gitignore. That could be fun, but I mean, I don't want to make this the default because by default you will probably have node modules in your gitignore, and you probably want to include the node modules in your application. So let's not use this. Okay, it takes a bunch of paths. And it is asynchronous, so I guess I can just say return whether. So we are doing a deny list. Or better yet, because here we can have negated patterns, how about I don't tell you if it's an allow or deny list? I'll just take a bunch of patterns, and then if you want to deny, you put an exclamation mark. So globby array of patterns, and it returns a promise, so I can await on that. Oh, and this will return an array of paths. So effectively what I want to do is, before I do the copy, so I guess this will be the paths to copy, and then I just look at or paths to copy includes a source. And then what if I pass something like star? It should copy everything. And it did not. Let's look at what the paths to copy looks like. Okay. That is because I am not passing my source here. So I will call this the source, and then I will extract this variable source here. And then over here I will have maybe source. A is not defined because I called it source. So now it's only getting files, not folders. What if I want to return folders? Well, I guess another way of thinking about this is, if I only have the files, I want to create directories that will contain the files. So another way of doing this could be, if the paths to copy, if there is, what is it called, sum? Okay, so if there is a path to copy such that the source, or better yet, the path to copy starts with the source. Okay. So by looking at this, but I'm looking at the starts with, I'm using starts with to compare, so all the paths to copy will be compared here, and I'm not sure I like this. Okay, Felipe says fast lob by default set only files option to true. Oh, so, oh, okay. So expand directories. That seems like it is what I want. if set to true, globy will automatically glob directories for you. If you define an array, it will only glob files that match the patterns inside the array. You can also define an object with files and extensions like below. Note that if you set this option to false, you won't get back matched directories unless you set only files to false. So I guess I want to set only files to false. So I guess I want to return to the version where we were just looking at includes. Oh, so here is the version already. We are looking at includes. But then in the glob, when calling globy, I want to pass the option only files false. And now this gives me AB, ABC, and so forth. Felipe says globy uses fast glob, so their options are carried to globy. Okay. Yeah, I have never used fast glob or globy. I have used glob in the past, but I don't even remember why. It has been a while. But it seems like this gives me the directories, so I kind of like that. And then the source, well, I guess the paths to copy should include the source. So if I put source here and then that list of globs, then I will copy everything over. Right, because the paths to copy definitely include the source. Which is kind of silly, but yeah, I definitely want to create the root directory. That is for sure, always. So the source is always in the paths to copy. And then we'll have this only files false to force us to return directories as well. And with that, we can just look at whether the paths to copy includes the source. And now let's give the glob something more interesting to work with. So I am looking at the source, but I want to exclude A/B/C. So effectively, I only want to see F in the output. Let's see if that does it. So A, B, F, and then here in the output, I only see F. So it seems like this is what I'm looking for. It's a good list. It's not an allow list or a deny list. It's both. Super powerful stuff. And in a way, it kind of reads like an allow list, and then you can use exclamation mark to deny things. So it's kind of the opposite from a git ignore. I wonder if there is a way for me to just flip this. Well, I guess there is. I can just put a... yeah, I can just negate this right here. So now I have effectively a filter out list. So these are not the paths to copy. These are the paths to ignore. And now this starts to look more like a git ignore of sorts. So paths to ignore, and I don't want to ignore the source now, and I don't want to ignore this. So I guess I can remove the source. So let's say that I don't want to ignore anything. Okay, this copies everything over. What if I want to ignore the folder ABC? It does not ignore ABC. Okay, so it ignores everything in ABC. It didn't copy the files in there. It didn't copy D and C, but it created the directory. So I guess it's time for me to look into this, maybe? Expand directories defaults to true. If I don't expand directories, then what happens? Then, okay, if I don't expand directories, then I don't even copy the directory at all. I end up with just F in there. So I guess that is the combination of options that I want to emulate a sort of a git ignore situation here. And then on the command line, we will accept a -- ignore. You could even have an ignore file, maybe. But no, I don't want to have an ignore file. I kind of hate having so many files in the root of my project, and I don't want to encourage people to try to remove too many things from the build. So they will pass command line argument, which is less ergonomic, but that's exactly the intent. I don't want to encourage people to try to prune too many things. I mean, one of the good things about caxa is that it is plug and play. Any kind of node application you throw at it and it just works. But if I start trying to ignore things, then things may subtly break only when you package the application, which is definitely not what I want to do. So you can do something on the command line like call caxa -- ignore.get. I'm happy to do that. But to receive an ignore file, no, I'm not happy to do that. And I guess what we'll do is to have something like ignore, and then you will pass something like abc, and then we'll do ignore abd, and so on. So you're going to pass ignore several times, and I'm going to compile that into a list, which I'm going to pass here. I think that's how this is going to pan out. Let's go to Commander again. Commander JS, because now I need to look into how I receive multiple arguments. So I guess I can look at array, or maybe multiple, multi, okay, let's look at the table of contents. Common options, default, other types, negatable boolean. Okay. Oh, that's what we were looking at before. Required option, variadic, maybe? Ah, okay. Okay, so I guess that's what we are going to do. We are going to do ignore and then a bunch of paths. So it will not look like this. It will look like that. And I'm also happy to do this. So I think all the pieces are in place. Let's go back to caxa, npm install globby. Yeah, that's the only new dependency here, right? Yeah, fsextra is already there, so globby is the only new dependency. And then up here we'll have to say somewhere import globby. I guess I'll do it here. So import globby from globby. Seems like globby is also installed. Did I install it before? Is it on my package JSON? No. I don't know. Some other package depends on glob. Whatever. So coming down here, we will have some options that are optional. And I cannot call this I because there is already input. So maybe capital I for ignore. Path to ignore. Passed as argument to blah. Yeah. Felipe suggests E for exclude. I am happy doing that, so paths to exclude from the build. Passed as argument to that. So people who are interested can learn more about how this works by going to this documentation. Is there a better source for this? Like a website dedicated to this package? No. So that's what we are gonna do. And then down here, after force, we'll have excludes, or actually it's exclude. Yeah, okay. And then this will be exclude question mark array of strings. I'll do the same trick I did before to test this out. So I'll console log exclude. And then I will call caxa. Oh, this will not give me the help. I need to say help. Let's look at the docs. So version, input, output, force, no force, exclude. Paths to exclude from the build, passed as argument to globby. And then we will use this, but we will not pass any excludes, and we should see an empty array. Undefined, I don't like that. So maybe try an empty array over here. I cannot pass an empty array. So I can pass an empty array over there, maybe? Okay. I am not a big fan of having to do it this way, because then why can't I do it this way? Or maybe I can. So now I will also log force. So without force and without exclude, I should see true and an empty array. If I pass force, then I still... And if I pass just exclude, then it should complain, right? Because I need to pass at least one argument to exclude. Okay, whatever. So it thought that the input was the exclude, and then it blew up. But if I pass something here like .get, then it will give me a big array. No, just .get. Okay. Yeah, because I'm not expanding directories. So true and exclude.get. And then no force should give me false. And then .get. Perfect. Felipe says, it might cause some confusion by citing globby directly because you're doing the opposite, a negated pattern matching rather than include list as globby does. Yeah, that is a fair point. But I'm also saying that, okay, let's make this more explicit. So paths to exclude from the build. The paths are passed to blah, and paths that match will be excluded. Okay, I think this is... Yeah, I think that this is explicit enough, and if people don't understand, they will open an issue and then we can figure it out, but I'm doing my best. So, force and exclude, they are working. Now I need to pass a filter function that will receive a source or a path, really, and I don't really care about the destination, so I won't pass this. I won't declare this argument here, and this will be asynchronous. And then I will... Oh, I guess I can do the same thing we did here in our example. So let's copy some things from here. So the paths to ignore, and here we'll pass an array that is the exclude stuff. And then filter will be something like this. Okay, let's read over what we have here. We have filter will go away. Force overwrite output if it exists. Oh, the problem with not passing an argument here is that it doesn't show up in the help. Let me read the help here. So force will not be in the help. I guess I'll pass through here then. And then we'll have these two competing styles for defaults, because an option default can only be a string. Come on, show me the help. The default value can only be a string or a boolean or undefined. So yeah, we'll have these two competing ways. This will show up in the help, so I don't want that because I only want one source of truth, but exclude needs to have a default of an empty array. And then paths to ignore will take exclude, which is an array, and then expand directories false and only files false. And then the paths to ignore, well, it should be called paths to exclude. Okay, so I think we did it. We'll test this real quick, but first let's commit what we have, because I probably have to write some scaffolding code to test this out. So let's see, import globby, that seems fine. Delete filter, add the exclude option, which by default is empty. And then paths to exclude calls globby. That's kind of weird that I'm doing this expansion. I don't need to write it that way. I can do it like this. And then this doesn't need to be asynchronous. I wonder if I should, instead of having filter as a function, if I should have this globby thing as a parameter, if I should maybe use globby in caxa internally. It is more useful, but it's less general. It's more ergonomic, but you would have to re-implement this logic yourself, while we could do that in caxa. We could have both. Yeah, why don't we have both? That shouldn't be too hard. So let's see what we have here. Yeah, I already went over all this, so I'll quickly commit, and then maybe we can implement these two options real quick. So filter, so we'll have here an exclude, which will be a string array. No, here I need to pass the default, so it will be that. And then down here we'll have exclude as an optional string array, and then the default filter will not be that. The default filter will be something that we will use the paths to exclude. But yeah, so the default filter will be a function that is immediately called. So check this out. This will be crazy. Can I do that? Okay, I guess I can. So this is an asynchronous function that when called will do this and return that. This all seems too good to be true that I can do this. Maybe I'll have to do this by hand below. We'll see. So let's read over what's happening here. So I have this asynchronous function that I'm immediately calling so that I can do the paths to exclude. Yuck. And then returns this function that takes a path and whatever. But this is still complaining because of the type. So the type promise blah is not assignable to type blah or blah. This is the type of my function. Oh, because I would need an await here. Can I do this? Await expressions cannot be used in a parameter initializer. So can I do this synchronously? Can I do globby.sync? Yes, I can. And this is happy. So now I have an exclude array. And if you pass me the exclude array and you don't pass me the filter function, then I will build a filter function using globby that will do the logic we just explored. And then below here, I don't have to build this filter stuff myself. I can just pass along the exclude. And I don't need to do this part. And that is wild. But I think it makes sense. So force and exclude, and then up here, exclude is an empty array, string array, blah, blah, blah. Filter will be this function. Okay, yeah, I'm happy. This is crazy, but I'm happy with this. Let's commit this. And now I want to write a test for this. What would that test look like? Let's see the things that I would like to test and the things that I don't want to test. So we introduced force, and I don't care about testing that. Or do I? It seems easy. And then exclude. Those are the new things we added. So let's try to write some tests for this. How about we write a test that is really based on echo command line parameters? And maybe it should go last. And then it will test dash dash force. Okay, so I guess one way to test this is to just call with input and output, but I will also pass a no force. Yeah, how about it? How about I build echo command line parameters 3 times? I build it once to make sure that it's there. I build it again so it overwrites, and then I build it again with no force, and it should blow up. Yeah, I think that's what I want to do. So let me get rid of this because I don't remember what I changed, though I have just done that. So this test will be kind of slow, and I'm not too sure I like it. To have such a slow test that builds the thing 3 times just for the sake of a simple command line parameter, but we'll see. So echo command line parameters and then the output. So I guess I'll call this echo command line parameters force, so it's a different executable, and then we will output once and that will work out. We don't really need to call the program we created because we are more interested in the build process this time. So we'll do it twice and it will succeed, but then I expect this with dash dash no force. I expect this third execution to fail. So I'll say expect this to throw error matching inline snapshot, and this will need to be asynchronous. Do I need to say something like to is this going to fail in the first place? I'm not sure I understand how exec A works all that well. Maybe it will succeed instead of throwing an exception. Think of this as a mix of exec file and spawn. Returns a child process instance, which is enhanced to also be a promise with blah 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 subprocess. I don't know what this is going to do. So I can either run this or I can write another test real quick. So I guess I will write another test. I will write some remove.js file in which I const exec A. By the way, exec A is by this same person. Look at that. So if I have an asynchronous block and in the asynchronous block I call await exec A of false, this should fail, right? So I can call node of remove.js, and it seems like it threw an exception. Command failed with exit code 1. Okay. So it seems like our test is correct. So this will overwrite and then expect this no force to throw error matching inline snapshot. And because I want to run this relatively quickly, I'll say that this is the only test I want to run. Npm T to run the tests. And because this test runs caxa 3 times, we have to wait here. Okay, something happened. Received function didn't throw. Okay, so 2 things happened. The first is that the received function didn't throw, but also Jess didn't exit 1 second after the test after the test run has completed. So maybe it didn't wait long enough. Let's go to Jest docs real quick and see if there is something in there that helps. Testing asynchronous code. So maybe I should, let's look at the async await portion. You can use async await in your tests. To write an async test, use the async keyword in front of the function passed to test. Okay, but that's not the level where I'm at. You can combine async await with resolve rejects. So maybe what I need to write is await expect blah, and then I don't do this. Do I need to say await in there as well? Fetch data, no. Seems like this is okay. So exec A, if I don't say await, returns a promise, and then expect will await on that promise, look at the rejects, and then this is probably a to match at this point. So to match inline snapshot. Run the tests again and hope for the best. Meanwhile, let's think about what we need to do to test the ignore stuff, the exclude stuff. We need to maybe build something, excluding something, and then we need to maybe have a command that lists the files in there. Okay, so this test has passed, and let's see what the error is. Error command failed with Xcode 1, and all that seems good, but this snapshot is no good because it has a path hard-coded. So instead, let's look for output already exists. Or maybe I can do something like dot. Because I really care about the message here only. So I guess what I can do real quick is to match and now I'm matching on that error message. So let's see if this test passes. Okay, so the idea I have for testing the exclude stuff is to build something excluding a certain path, and then the command that we run is not even node. The command that we run is maybe like list or something. Problem with that is that it's different in macOS, Linux, and Windows. But maybe I can just test this on macOS and Linux or whatever. So this failed. Received type object. Received has value blah. What matchers do I have available here? Or let's look at what dot rejects looks like in other tests. To match error, to match error. And then what matchers do I have? Exceptions. To throw. No. Don't like this. Can I use a regular expression maybe? I don't think that's going to be successful. I'm trying. Worst comes to worst, I think there is a way for me to just say expect this to reject, right? There should be a way for me to say expect this to throw. Okay, yeah, that didn't work. What to match, to return, to strict equal, to have length, to be called. Can I, is there like a to reject? No. Just expect to reject. Come on. Come on, it cannot be this difficult to expect to reject. Ugh. I don't think I will be able to finish today. Oh, that's so unfortunate. There is a rejects. Okay, Felipe says there is a rejects. Dot rejects. Yeah, that's what I'm using. But this is just a way for me to get a hold of the result of the promise, and then I need to do some assertion with it. It's not that simple. There is no expect blah 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 to reject. That doesn't exist. I mean, okay, let's write some other tests real quick here. So I will have this dot only taken out, and then I will do another test which is just called remove, and then I will do async stuff in here, and then I expect this asynchronous function. So I will call an asynchronous function which throws rejects. So this should pass. Oh, I also want to say dot only. Felipe says dot rejects to equal error blah message. Okay, that sounds good. This error originated either by... I don't think I need async. Oh, I need to say await here. No, it's telling me that it has no effect, so that's not the case. This error originated either by throwing inside of an async function without a catch block, or by rejecting a promise that wasn't handled with catch. The promise rejected with the reason hello. So what you're saying is I could say to equal, or yeah, to equal error hello. I think that's what you wrote. Let's see if this works. It doesn't. Because it's not really an error. To match, do we have some match error situation here? No. Oh man, this is freaking hard. How do I test using jest that something will reject? It's such a simple question. I want to test that the thing will reject. I don't really care about the error that comes out. I just want to make sure that it rejected. And this seems to be impossible to do with jest. Amazing. I don't want to mock stuff. Wrapper? No. Wrapper? No, 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 no. No wrappers. No mocks. No tag. No, 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 no. Come on. Expect a function to throw an exception in jest. Okay. Await expect blah, 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 blah to throw. Ah, okay. So I can say to throw error matching inline snapshot with the rejects part. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, that passed, and it just gives me the error message. So it seems like that might be our guy. So here when we say rejects to throw error matching in inline snapshot, I'll comment out this for now, and I will say that this is the only test I want to run. Let's try this out. Oh, it was so painful. I did not like the experience of writing this test. It was not worth it. I mean, it's not like I have been stabbed, but I don't like the way this reads. I cannot really make sense of it. It was painful to get here. The test is slow. It does contain a hard-coded path. So I guess I will have to say to throw error. And that's it, to throw an error. I expect it to throw an error. I don't really care about the nature of the error. Let's run this test, and if it passes, I'm moving on. I only have 20 minutes left, and I'm far from being done here. Oh no, I thought this was going to be way easier. But it's alright. Okay, the test passed. I'm moving on. Now let's test the exclude stuff. So the cool thing about this example that I keep compiling, the echo command line parameters, is that it's only a single file. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the echo command line parameters again, copy the whole thing, and then I will test the dash dash. Oh, I think I forgot to take out the only. Okay, so I will test the dash dash exclude stuff. And then in here, I will pass dot dash dash exclude, and I will exclude index.js. So this will have nothing in there. But I can list the files in the folder and check that the files, that index is not there. And the thing I'm thinking about is I could just call a command like ls here. But the problem with doing that is that it's not cross-platform, is it? No, it's not. On Windows, it could be dir. So instead, I will use node to list the files in a directory. Maybe I have to write a different program just to do this. But let's see if I can list the files in a folder using node real quick, if that's easy to do. Let's see. So I don't have access to any packages in this situation. I need to do this with pure node. I feel like I'm tying my hand on my back to do this. Maybe I could write another example just for the sake of this test, but I don't know. Let's see. File system, and then list, ls, directory, access, open dir, read dir. Okay, that will give me a list of paths. reader sync. It exists. Awesome. So I can do something like node, and then I remember there is a way for me to run node so that it outputs the program. Yeah, it outputs the script result. So that will come in handy. And is there a way for me to require? Yes, module to preload option can be repeated. The problem is that I don't have a way to name the require. So I can say node.p -p and then say something like console log hello. I don't even actually need the console log. I can just say hello. And now require fs and then reader sync of the current directory, and that lists all the files. That seems fine. I don't want to wrap like this, and I don't want the color, so I'll JSON stringify, and that gives me a list of files in the folder. Excellent. So the command that I want to run is node, and then I will say -p. Also, it's good that we fixed this error before. In a previous stream, we fixed an error that really allows us to do this. The -p thing, does it have a long version? Yes, --print. So I'll prefer that version. --print. And then I need to pass the program, which is this. Except that instead I will have caxa as my folder. This is wild stuff, but I think it will work. And I don't need to pass all these extra parameters. And then I don't know what it will output, so let's do it like this. And this, I want this to be the only test that runs for now. So npm test, this should be relatively quick compared to our previous one because it only compiles once. Oh, I need to rename this. So this will be exclude. Maybe I will rename this echo command line parameters force or echo command parameter line exclude. All right. Oh, okay. So I changed some things and just changed some things, and I need to fix the conflict. I guess I want this part like this. Let's see. So I do have the exclude, and I also have the jest output. No, I lost jest output. So let's run the tests again. The fact that this is the echo command line parameters directory is completely non-essential for this test at this point. But it seems like it did not work because the index file is in there. I wonder if I need to pass the complete path. Come on, keyboard, work. Okay. All right, so the file was excluded. All right, we have a test for force and we have a test for exclude. and I am happy with what I have here. Wild stuff writing these tests. We have 10 minutes. Let's try to write one more of these. So dedupe, that should be easy. I am not interested in really writing a test for this, but we'll see. But let's write the option for this. So option, what do we call it? D for dedupe. Run npm dedupe production on the build directory. By default it is true, and we'll have an option called no dedupe. Maybe these no options could be capitalized, so like this, no dedupe. And then down here we will have after exclude, after force, where is it? Where is exclude? Oh, it's here. So after exclude, dedupe. After exclude, dedupe. And then here, dedupe. Right? It is called dedupe here as well. And I will do again that little trick to test dedupe. So now I run help to see the documentation for this. Dedupe, no dedupe. If I call it like this, it will dedupe, so it should print true. I missed something. True. Now if I say dedupe, true. Do I have a clash somewhere? Let's read over this real quick. So I-O-F, capital F, E-D, capital D. No conflict so far. Then if I say no dedupe, this will say false. And if I say capital D, it should print false as well. Awesome. So all of this is working. I can remove my hack. And I could write a test for this, but I won't. Next, prepare. Prepare is something you can run before the build. I'm tempted to just say, if you want to do this, go to the JavaScript API. Because anything useful you could do will have to use the build directory, and for that I would need some placeholder, and I would need to replace that for you. No. I could cd into the directory, I guess. Let's give this a try. And I will also not remove here. I will leave here to do write tests for this. I'm not releasing 2.0 today anyway, so whatever. Felipe says, I agree that prepare should be more for advanced user, hence using the JavaScript API. Yeah, that's fine, but it's not too hard to have a prepare command here, so I guess I will try to do it. If we can do it in 5 minutes, we'll have it. So let's see, we'll have an option. It will be called -p or prepare. Do we have a -p? We don't. So, oh, and we definitely need a command. Command to run on the build directory before while packaging. And oh, this is an optional thing, so okay. Let's again do a console log of, it comes after the dupe, right? Yeah, prepare, question mark string, and then console log and return and prepare. So if I don't pass prepare, I should see undefined. That's okay. But this is a string, so now what I want to do is I want to test that if I pass prepare, I get a command on the way out. So let's see, prepare, and then the command is hello. It says hello. And then here I will say if prepare is equal to undefined, then nothing. Otherwise, then prepare is a function that takes as argument the build directory, which happens to be a string. This function will be asynchronous. It will await for exec A to run. Now I would like this to run like on a terminal. So I don't know exactly how that's gonna go, but in any case I can pass prepare here. So this time I'm only passing the prepare thing. So by default here prepare is what? It's a function that does nothing. So I guess that's what I'm gonna do. Maybe. No. I just will not pass a prepare argument when calling this. Can I just pass undefined? So can I say something like prepare? If prepare is undefined, then undefined. Otherwise, this function. I wonder what that will do. I can write a remove file real quick and test this. So if I have a function that is called hi and expects an argument arg, except that it's optional and it is hello, and it console logs arg, and then I call hi arg is undefined. Hello. Okay. I needed an empty object. Why is that? Do I need extra parentheses? No. I don't know. All right. So arg if I say arg is goodbye, and I see goodbye. But if I say that arg is undefined, then I see hello again. So that works awesome. Let's remove the remove file. So if prepare is undefined, I pass undefined, or I could just pass prepare, but I will pass undefined. Otherwise, I will pass an asynchronous function that takes as argument the build directory, which I want to be in. But I want this to run as a command. So let's go to the docs for exec A. So I don't want to have this prepare as a file. I want to run this as a command. So what options do I have? Command, and then it's a command. Same as exec A, except both file and arguments are specified in a single command string. Yeah, right. And then I will also leave here to do write some tests for this as well. And these three are so simple. Include node is a boolean, remove build directory is a boolean, and identifier is a string. These are so simple to implement, so we'll do that. On the last stretch, I should stop this stream, but on the last stretch, let's do these three, and then we'll leave the tests, the documentation, and whatnot for tomorrow. Okay, prepare command to run on the build directory while packaging. If prepare is undefined, undefined, otherwise run exec A command prepare on the build directory. Okay, more flexibility, the users will be happy. So let's write include node. And by default, I include. So we'll copy the dedupe and we'll change all occurrences of dedupe to node, and I'll call this -n, and this will be capital N, and this will be copy the node executable into the caxa node modules bin directory. Yep, got that right. Copy the node executable, the node JS executable to blah, whatever. So node by default true, no node. Down here after prepare, we'll have node question mark boolean. How do I call it? Up here, include node. Guess I'll call it include node here as well then. Include node. And then this will be no include node, such that this will be include node, like so. This is the first multi-word parameter that I have, so I'm not sure this is going to work. But supposedly, this will work, and I will say just include node there. And by default, it will be true. So let's see if this works. I'll do again the trick of console log of include node this time. No, okay, so if I don't pass anything, include node should be true. And it just complains really hard because the prepare may be undefined. Is that it? But look at that, it's not undefined. Exclamation mark? Because if it is undefined, I don't even get here. Do I need like parentheses around the thing? No? I don't know. Whatever. Okay, so true, include node. And what if I say capital, or maybe dash dash no include node? False. Awesome. Let's try capital N, which should also be false. Okay. Let's remove that. I wonder if I forgot some dot only. I did. And maybe some dot skip. No, dot only in the tests. Okay. So include node. We have that one on the bag. No include node, copy the Node.js executable to blah. Include node is a boolean. Include node, blah, blah, blah. I really don't know why I need this exclamation mark. That's weird. But okay. And here we changed to remove the dot only that I forgot in there. Okay, so that all is okay. Now let's do the last one. No, the second to last one. Remove build directory. What do I call this one? B? B and capital B. I don't think we have a B yet. No, so remove build directory. Is that what the argument is called? It is called remove build directory. All right. And then no remove build directory. Remove the build directory after the build. Down here we'll have remove build directory, remove build directory question mark boolean, and by default this is true. Okay. Okay, let's go over this. So remove build directory, remove the build directory after the build. No remove build directory, capital B, remove build directory, remove build directory, remove build directory. Excellent. Let's do the final one, which is the identifier. So the identifier is more like exclude, or maybe even prepare, in the sense that it receives an argument. So let's find prepare. Right here, this option, it will be identifier. Do I have dash I for input? Yes. So I is taken, D is taken for dedupe. So there will be no short option for this one. This will be the identifier or build identifier, which is the path to the path in which the application will be unpacked, which is the path in which the application will be unpacked. Yeah, which is the path in which the application will be unpacked. Okay, So identifier, and here we have identifier. By default, it will be undefined. That's fine. Identifier question mark string, and then identifier, which by default will be undefined, so it will use this default right here. Okay. I also want to let people know what are the advanced options, so I'll put that as a comment here. So I'll say that this is advanced. So anything that is not your input or output, so force and exclude and dedupe and prepare and copy node and build directory and blah blah blah, all these will be marked as advanced. Let's see how this reads. Advanced variety, advanced blah, advanced blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'll go over the copy for this and then I think we'll wrap it up. So package Node.js application into executable binaries, dot. The command to run and optional arguments to pass to the command every time the executable is called. Paths must be absolute. The caxa placeholder is substituted for the folder from which the packet runs. The node executable is available at blah. Use double quotes to delimit the command and each argument. Output blah. The input directory to package. The path where the executable will be produced on Windows must end in .exe. On macOS may end to generate a macOS bundle executable. Overwrite output if it exists. Write paths to exclude from the build. The paths are passed to globby and paths that match will be excluded. Run blah on the build directory. Command to run on the build directory while packaging. Copy the Node.js executable to that place. Remove the build directory after the build, and build identifier, which is the path in which the application will be unpacked. Okay, let's look for conflicts. Input, output, force, no force, exclude, dedupe, no dedupe, prepare, include node, no include node, remove build directory, no remove build directory, identifier, and then we have the lovely letters I, O, F, E, D, P, N, B, identifier. And then the examples on Windows, I think that this still holds. That still holds. That still holds. So I think the documentation is over. Let's commit what we have. Oh, I will also say that we'll have to write tests for all of these. Dedupe, prepare, include node, remove build directory, and identifier. Not sure I'm going to write the tests for these. We'll see how I feel tomorrow, but yeah. Okay. All these changes look good. Let's wrap this up. Thank you for watching. Tomorrow we'll get back here and we will publish this thing. We'll write some tests. We will publish 2.0. We will publish 2.0. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me, Felipe, and everyone else who was here. I see you tomorrow, 5:30 UTC. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and support me on Patreon and PayPal. Or, just hang out. That's also an excellent support. Thanks for being here. I see you tomorrow. Bye.